Hello YouTube, this is Brooke and I want to do a video on my new foundation routine. I've been recently watching a lot of YouTube videos on foundation and how to apply it properly, and so I decided to start wearing it again. Normally I usually just wear a powder and put my blush on over top that, but I wanted to go for a more flawless finish, so I decided to use a light coverage foundation. And this morning I watched a video by Light Caramel 82, and she really inspired me with her foundation video to give it a try. So I've got all my products and I'm going to walk you through what I have been doing for the last few days to get my foundation applied properly. So the first thing I do is clean and moisturize my skin, and it's already clean and moisturized, and the moisturizer has been sitting on my skin absorbing for about 10 to 15 minutes. So I know that it's fully absorbed. So the next thing I'm going to do is apply my primer. And I use the MAC Prep and Prime Face Primer. And I just do one pump of that and apply that all over my face. And already I can feel it, making my skin feel nice and silky. So I've got that on. Then what I usually do is put on a half pump of MAC's Prep and Prime Vibrancy Eye, and it just is good for filling in fine lines underneath and on the eyelids. I usually just use a very tiny amount because it does spread a lot, and I put that on my eyes, rub it in. It's not going to give you much of a lasting effect for eyeshadow, but it does, like I said, do a nice job of filling in fine lines and brightening up the eye area. So I do that, and then the next thing I do before I put on my foundation is I give my face, actually I'm going to put my hair in clips, I give my face a nice spray of MAC Fix Plus finishing spray. And the reason I do that is because it also helps make the skin awake and just more vibrant, and it also gives a nice little base for the foundation to adhere to. So I let that dry a little bit, and while that's drying I get my foundation ready. I shake up a bottle of MAC Mineralize Satin Finish SPF 15 foundation. And the reason I chose this foundation is because it gives a light to medium coverage, and it has a mineralized base to it, and it has a slight bit of shimmer, which I really like. Especially in the summer, I'm going for a dewy look. It gives just a slight shimmer to it. So I put 2 pumps of that on my wrist or on my hand, and I'm going to use MAC brush 187, which is the large foundation brush or stippling brush, and I just get product all over the brush. You can't really tell, but it's just all over there. And what I do is dab it or stipple it on all over my face. Sorry, I'm looking at a mirror while I'm doing this. There. So I get this dabbed all over my skin in nice equal coverage, and I'm using up all the product off of my hand. And from there, when I've got it all over, I'm just going to buff it out. And I love this brush because it's light and airy, and it really does a good job of spreading the product evenly when you buff it, or if you need higher coverage, it's really good for stippling. And you can see that it's got 2 layers of bristles on there, the softer layer on top, but if you stipple it, you're really going to pounce down into that coarser or thicker layer, and that's going to really push the product into your skin. And I like to get all over the place, really stippled and buffed, even my eyes, because that's going to help my eye makeup stay on a little bit better. And when I've got that pretty well blended into my skin, I go to the next step, which is using my powder. I use Select Sheer pressed powder, and if you've watched my other videos, you know that this will be discontinued soon, so I hope no one's really following this. If anyone knows of a powder that I can use to replace this, I prefer MAC products, but if you know of something I can use to replace Select Sheer when it's fully discontinued, I actually bought the last 2 boxes in my color in Milwaukee, so those are all gone, but if anyone has a recommendation, I would appreciate it. But I use color NC55, and what I do is I take my MAC 150 brush, which is a large face brush, and I dab a lot of product on there, knock off the fall off, and then just pat it into my skin all over the place. And that's giving me more of a matte coverage, which is okay for right now because, you know, eventually I do want the dewy look, but this has helped setting the foundation into my skin and keeping it from melting and just generally coming off. So get more product for the other side. And I just pat that in wherever I put the foundation. And go down to my neck a little bit. Make sure I've got my hairline covered. And that's what I do with the powder. Then I'm also going to do a little bit of contouring, which is new for me. And I'm going to actually use MAC's Eyeshadow Brown Down because I couldn't really find a contour that blush that I really liked. And this is what it looks like directly from the pot. And if I put it on my skin, there's what it... But I'm going to use a very light coverage of it, and I'm going to use MAC's brush 168, which is the contour brush. And I'm going to put just a tiny bit of product on there. You can hardly tell that I have any on there. And I'm going to go from my middle of my ear down through the, just above where my, just below the apple of my cheek. So right there. So I start in the back and sweep it up towards the front. You can kind of tell I have a little bit there, but for me I'm going for a light coverage because this is such a dark color that I don't want to look like I've got a stripe on my face. And there it is on the other side. I've just gone from the middle of my ear to the bottom of the apple of my cheek. I can smile a little bit and let that stand out a little bit more. Okay, so after I contour, I like to put my blush on, and I use MAC Plum Foolery. Looks like this. I've hit pan, but it's my favorite blush, and I've been using it for years. So it's got a nice pinky, you can barely tell, but it's got a nice pinky, soft shimmer, and it blends in very nicely with my skin color. And I just do like little circles on my cheek, and I carry it up to my temple. So I know the camera's not picking it up very well, but this is the side that has it, and I'm going to go do the other side now. I pick up quite a bit of product, knock off the excess, and then again make sure that I've got the apples of my cheek covered, and then the temple area. So I swoop all the way up. And I just started wearing highlighter too, and for that I'm going to use MAC's Trace Gold blush. It's a warm, very light, warm peachy pinky color, and that's what it looks like as a swatch. But I'm going to use MAC's brush 252, which is technically really an eyeshadow brush, but it's got a very wide synthetic bristle that I like because it doesn't pick up a ton of product, just a little, and I'm going to sweep it over the apple of my cheek and blend it in. Again, I don't know how well the camera's picking this up, but it does give me a nice little brightness under the eye area. I even put it under the eye a little bit, but it gives me more of that glowy, dewy look. I'll do the other side. I held off on doing highlighter for a long time because I think my the way my face shape is and my coloring, I pretty much had a nice kind of lightness to that area anyway, but I think it does look a little bit more polished and touched up when you apply a highlighter. So that's where I have it. I'll do some blending right there. And when I have my blush on and I like the way it looks, I just go back with my 150 brush that might still have a little powder on it, and I just blend that in a little bit. Okay, and the very last thing I do with my foundation routine is go back over my face with a couple sprays of the MAC Fix Plus, and that's just to give me that glowy look back, and also to set the makeup. So I do that. And when that dries, because it's very, very dewy looking right now, but when that dries, I can go back on, make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. I'm using my stippling brush 187 right now, and you can see I'm starting to get that really, really glowy summertime look as it dries and the product is in place. Oops. So that's what I look like with my foundation on. I know it's not much of a difference. I like light coverage instead of heavier coverage because that's just the way I am. And also I like that it has the SPF in it, and it keeps my skin protected. And then after that, I go through and do my eyes and my lips, and I'm all done. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And if you haven't checked out my Twitter page, it's Pink to Paris. And also Instagram, I'm at Pink to Paris. Thanks. Bye-bye.